boy.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of FitPet Boston Talks. My name is Leah Lodato and I am the host of the show. Today I wanted to do a quick episode and talk about armchair quarterbacking. This is a subject that I brought up in the episode that I did about e-collars, and I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into that today. Hopefully we'll get an episode out on Friday, but if not, I wanted to do this little one in the interim because it was fresh on my mind. I just finished doing all the computer work for filing my taxes, so I'm taking a little palate cleanser and recording this episode before I head out to our group class, our Tuesday night group class at Auntie Dog. So that's where I'm at right now. But, okay, introduction. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for your listening ear. This little project is super fun for me to do. It is my way of connecting with clients, with other dog handlers, with friends in the local industry, and hopefully you find it entertaining. If you do, please like, subscribe, and share the podcast with your friends. And yeah, that's what we do here. I've interviewed local Boston area dog handling professionals. We've talked about our lives, dogs, and careers. And if I'm not doing that, I sit down with my spouse, Laurie, and we deep dive on specific dog training and handling topics, which is super fun, well received, always a blast because she is hilarious. And I like to think that I can make a funny joke here and there myself, but everybody really loves it when Laurie's on because she's so funny. And I don't know if it's normal to laugh that much at your spouse, but I do. And anyway, so I wanted to talk a little bit today about the concept of watching somebody else perform a task or a skill and generating opinions based off of what you see, and then having those opinions change when it is you in the driver's seat. The reason why this comes up in my training classes is because a lot of the things that we are trying to execute are very, very simple tasks. If we break down a task like clicker training your dog, marking and rewarding behavior, feeding in a timely manner, presenting the food so that your dog can access the food without dropping it on the floor, leash handling skills. This is how we hold the leash. This is where we want our thumb to be. This is where we want our arms to be. This is the body position that we want to be relaxed yet in control. Electric collar training. I talked about this in a couple episodes ago. This is how we fit the collar. This is how we want the remote to feel in our hand. This is how we want to have access to the stimulation if we need it. Anything really. Trialing. Okay. This is where we need to stand in order to wait for our trial. This is where we go when the judge calls us in. This is where we hand our leash off to the steward. All these things are super simple concepts. So if you work a complicated job, like say you're a doctor or a computer analyst or a software engineer, something like that, these things are all very complicated tasks. And regardless of the job that you have, you probably make those tasks look very easy. So if someone were to watch you perform your job, whatever skill you might have, and you might say to me like, whatever, I'm just an admin. If I was looking over the shoulder of an admin perform their daily tasks, my mind would probably be blown because your skill level, regardless if you recognize it or not, is probably pretty good if you're efficient at your job. So if you file PDFs all day, if you need to make client phone calls or follow-ups, or you do some quote-unquote menial task for somebody else, you may say to yourself, well, I'm not a master at this. And I would argue, yeah, you probably are, but you don't realize it because it's just something that you do every day. Any master, regardless of the simplicity of the task, is going to make the job look easy. And if we relate that back to dog training and handling, anybody that works with dogs every day, whether you agree with their training style or not, whether you agree with their methodology or not, if that person works with a dog every single day, they're going to develop a certain rhythm and a certain mastery of whatever skill set that they are executing over and over and over again. They're going to make it look easy. I struggle with this when I am in training classes because many times the instructors are masters of their craft and they make it look very easy. And it is frustrating when I'm put in the driver's seat and I don't understand how they're achieving the behavior from the dogs that they are. It's very frustrating when I try to emulate what they are doing on the outside. So I'm looking at them and I'm just trying to mimic their behavior, and it doesn't work. So there's a big difference between observing, watching video, watching somebody work, watching somebody trial, watching somebody train a dog to sit, watching someone to train a dog to stay. Anything that you might do as it relates to dog training, it's easy to watch and critique from the outside. And then there's this phenomena when the leash is put in our hands, when the clicker is put in our hands, when the remote collar is put in our hands, when it's our turn to fit a prong collar, when it's our turn to make sure that, the flat buckle collar is attached to the dog properly, when it's our turn to make sure that the harness is on correctly, when it's our turn to make sure that the crate is secure in the car, etc., etc., etc. When it's our turn to do those things, it's a lot more difficult than it looks from the outside. And the only way to get better at these tasks is by doing it yourself. The best example that I can give is the disc dog league that I run on Monday nights. Throwing a frisbee is something that people have been doing their whole lives, a lot of people. But when we're on the field, when our dog is there, when we have to contend with wind, a very simple task, throwing a frisbee turns into a very difficult proposition. And there are a lot of people that like to armchair quarterback from the sidelines when somebody is up on the line. And that's something that I've really discouraged people to do. I don't want people that are on the sidelines when somebody is up on the line coaching that person. It's so unhelpful in the moment. And it happens sometimes at league because, you're on the sidelines, you're watching somebody really struggle, and it's very easy to start wanting to coach that person because maybe you feel bad for them, or that it would look different if you were up there doing it, or you think it would look different if you were up there doing it. But lo and behold, it's a lot more difficult than it looks. So never denigrate these simple tasks. Never show up to a dog training class and watch your daughter or your husband or your wife from the sidelines and say, oh, they're screwing up all these things. This is what I would do, if I were in their position. Because 9 times out of 10, the person that's sitting on the sidelines watching their loved one handle the dog, when it's their turn to execute that task, they're messing up just as much as the next guy. And there's only one reason why that happens. It has nothing to do with your level of intelligence. It has everything to do with practice. So we talk a lot about repetitions, and we talk a lot about dogs learning through repetitions, and humans learn through repetitions too. So if we are practicing a new task, I don't care if it is as simple as putting a leash on your dog and walking to the door. That's something that we can practice. It's something that takes time in order to develop into a skill where you can just do it without thinking about it. Something as simple as putting a leash on your dog. Something as simple as asking your dog to sit before you put the leash on your dog. Very simple things are often very difficult to execute properly. And for me, just recognizing, okay, this client, this person is about to do something that they've never done before. They're giving me maybe a little bit of attitude because they think, what's the big deal, Leah? This is so easy. And then they get the leash in their hands or the collar in their hands, or they need to put the collar on the dog, and everything falls apart. And it would be very easy in that situation for me to go, aha, I told you so. This is a lot harder than it looks, isn't it? But what would be more helpful is if a client recognized that from the giddy-ups, from the get-go. If a client came and had a little bit of a humble attitude, right? Because even though this stuff is simple, it's not easy. And the more humility that you can have coming into a training class, the quicker you'll learn. The more you can throw away your preconceived notions about anything and just listen to the person who knows what they're doing. Hopefully you're working with a trainer that's really good. The more you can throw away those preconceived notions, the faster you're going to get things done. And my best piece of advice would be never judge when somebody else is handling their dog. Don't judge, learn. See where they're struggling and see where they're succeeding so that when it's your turn, you'll have as much information as you possibly can have before it's time for you to practice. And practicing those reps is the only way to get good at it. You have to actually do something with your dog. it's boring. You have to find it intrinsically enjoyable. You have to find seeing success incrementally enjoyable and rewarding. And it's not for everyone. It's one of those tasks and one of those skills that you have to build upon all the time. Yes, we have light bulb moments with our dogs where all of a sudden we're working on something and boom, they get it all of a sudden, it seems. And those hits, it is dopamine for us, right? So we have been anticipating, and finally our dog holds the downstay, or finally our dog picks up the bird, or finally our dog swings into heel position, when you say heel with no luring of your hands or your body or anything like that. But there was a lot leading up to that, repetitions. And yes, we have those aha moments. They don't come as often as I would like them to, but they are still there. But for the most part, this work is a little tedious, and we have to find a little bit of enjoyment just in working with our dogs. So armchair quarterbacking, for me, I see it happening a lot with people, with dog trainers, with clients, because it's so easy to do. It's so easy to watch somebody else make mistakes, or it's so easy to look at the person and say, don't you know that your arm isn't relaxed? Can't you feel how tense you are? But then when it's our turn to explore that task, all of a sudden we start doing things that are outside of our character because simply we've never done it before. It's totally new. And luckily, because a lot of the time these dog training techniques are quite simple, most people with a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of motivation and a little bit of stick-to-itiveness can achieve these basic skills. It's not easy, but if we put a little effort into it, we can make it happen relatively quickly, okay, just to kind of master those very basic things. It's totally possible. I'm not sitting here saying that you'll never be able to teach your dog how to bleh, right? It's not the vibes of my message today. The vibe of the message is practice, even if it seems super simple. Ask questions if you have them. And the last thing that I'll say is never devalue a video. Video is so useful for us as dog trainers. It doesn't matter if you are a client, if you're just like, I just need my dog to recall when they're off leash, or if you're doing high level obedience. If you videotape yourself 9 times out of 10, you'll see things in there that you didn't think you were doing, or you'll see your dog doing something that you didn't think that they were doing, because we can't have eyes everywhere, and a video can provide us with more information. The clients that provide video in between lessons, they just do better. If I ask for video and I get it, it doesn't matter if there's a billion mistakes or if it's perfect. If there's a billion mistakes, we can fix them. If it's perfect, I can give that person affirmation. And affirmation and attaboy, a pat on the back, it really goes a long way. And a little bit of constructive criticism goes a long way as well. But if I'm able to get those videos in between lessons, man, I'll tell you, it makes a huge difference in the success of the client. So don't armchair quarterback, practice your repetitions, videotape yourself when you can. Doesn't matter if you're a client or you're a trainer. And just remember that any skill that you're going to be doing in reality is going to require time, patience, and practice. It's a lesson that I'm learning just alongside all of you guys. So wanted to make this quick little episode, get the message out midweek. I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and hopefully we will see you on Friday on the weekend. And if we don't, it's because we got busy. We have some family in town. My office isn't as readily available. So hopefully Laurie and I will get one out before the weekend. If not, we will see you next time. Ta-ta.